There have been so many devastating natural disasters of late, it got some of us here on the early show wondering, is God mad at us? Going back 10 months, there was the terrible tsunami in Asia, which killed hundreds of thousands. This summer, we've had an extraordinary run of hurricanes, with Katrina become one of the most devastating in history, swamping New Orleans and wiping out much of the Mississippi coast. In the last 2 weeks, we've had the tragic earthquake in Pakistan, which killed tens of thousands of people, and terrible mudslides in Guatemala. Thousands of people dead there. Now, here in the Northeast, the rain seems like it's never going to end, with record flooding from New Jersey to New Hampshire. So, is God mad at us? We've assembled a brilliant roundtable to try to answer that question. The Reverend Gerry Falwell is with us, Bill Nye the Science Guy, and Andy Borowitz of the Borowitz Report. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Reverend, let me start with you. I was down in Mississippi the other day. I heard a preacher on the radio saying this is the sins, this is payment for the sins of America. Funny that the mullahs in the Middle East are saying the same thing, but is there a connection?
I don't think God's mad at us. God may be disappointed, but God so loved the world that he gave his son Christ to die for all of us. I do think that if you look at history, they've always been, at any point in history, calamities and disasters. They just happened in the last few months to have been all at one time, and on the street everybody's asking the same question you are. And Wolf Blitzer the other day on CNN asked me, if is somebody trying to get our attention. I think two things. I do believe that God certainly is the owner. He's the creator. He's sovereign. Nothing happens without his direction or permission. I do not believe that God is mad at anybody trying to hurt anybody. He could breathe and we'd all be gone. The fact is that he is trying to get our attention.
All right.
Is at the end of the age. Only a fool would say that the Lord's coming today. No man knows the day of the hour. We'd live as though this were the day. We'd have planned with the next generation in mind.
Well, you know what? I'm going to come back to that subject, the end of days, here in just a couple of seconds. Bill Nye, Science Guy. I'll tell you what, I'm in Sri Lanka earlier this year, looking at the devastation, saying, I've never seen anything like this. I'm on the Mississippi coast 5 weeks ago, and I said, it looks exactly the same. What's up here?
Well, we have many, many people living on a small world, and we're increasingly living near the coasts. So when things go wrong with the weather, or when you have an underwater earthquake and you get a tsunami, people at the coast are affected. The other thing that's going on in the northeast of our country is we've paved over so many wetlands that now we're not able to absorb floods the way we used to be able to. So we have to ask questions, is this really in everybody's best interest, or should we make better decisions about land use and so on?
Bill, one of the things I'm wondering, is it God mad at us, or does Mother Nature have a bad attitude? Go ahead.
It doesn't seem especially unusual to me. We have about 1,000 measurable earthquakes a year. They're over 7 every few weeks. There's an earthquake over 7 on the Richter scale every few weeks. So this is not especially unusual. What's unusual is that so many humans are being affected by it. And it's just the start of things, in my opinion. I think the hurricanes are probably going to get stronger. If they don't get stronger, that'll be surprising. I mean, if you're a betting voter and taxpayer, as there's more heat energy in the atmosphere, you got to figure hurricanes are going to get stronger. And then we have to do a better job of making buildings able to withstand earthquakes. As the old saying goes, earthquakes don't kill people, buildings kill people. So when you have these buildings built to not, if you will, not Western standards, or the standards you have in a place like Japan, when there's a strong earthquake, there's a
serious
lot of
consequence. Serious consequence. Andy Borowitz, we're looking for some wisdom from you this morning.
Oh, you've come to the wrong place, but continue.
But I'm in the car yesterday. We're talking about the rain with a cab driver, and I asked him, have you ever seen anything like this before? And he said, yes. I grew up in West Africa. I mean, we have a monsoon right now in the Northeast United States. It seems inexplicable to me.
Well, I don't think God is mad. I think George Steinbrenner is mad, but I don't think that explains any of this at all.
This is not retribution for the Yankees not getting past the first
Not at
round
all.
of the playoffs.
I will say, though, I was reading the book of Revelation last night, and it is a bad sign when squirrels start thinking they're puppies.
Right.
that may mean
which is a story we're going to get on this morning. That could be the sign.
That
of the
concerns me.
Yeah.
That concerns me.
Yeah. Gerry Falwell, I'm going to come back to you because if you've been in any kind of evangelical church for any time in the last 50 years, you've heard that the end was coming soon. Do folks in your neck of the woods believe the end of time is coming soon?
Well, Harry, I'm an antique. I've been pastor of the same church 50 years.
All right.
And I have preached the imminent return of Christ from the beginning of my ministry, as did Christ, as did Simon Peter in 2 Peter 3, and throughout 2,000 years of the church age. We are to believe in, to preach, to prepare people through the eschatological teachings of the imminent coming of Christ, and he could come today. The mistake is made when people begin setting dates. Whenever someone says he's coming on a certain day, be sure he's not, because Jesus said, no man knows the day or the hour. The only thing that bothers me about all these terrible calamities is that we try to blame it on the myth of global warming, or even worse, on George Bush, and I don't think either one had a thing to do with it.
Okay, so Bill Nye, that's a perfect opening for you. Is it a myth of global warming? We saw pictures just this week of the the polar ice cap on the North Pole, and guess what? It's this big. It used to be this big. It's this big now.
I mean, the ice cap's getting bigger.
It's getting smaller. It's getting smaller. Exactly.
Yeah, he's right. It's getting smaller because the world's getting warmer. Now, people can argue about whether or not humans are responsible and whether or not individuals driving large vehicles in the richest country in the world are responsible. You can argue about that. But the world is getting warmer. And as I say, if you're a gambling person, if you're a voter and taxpayer who's concerned about the future, you can, as we say in The Music Man, close your eyes to a situation you do not wish to acknowledge.
Okay.
Or you can address it. We could, as we like to say, have it all if we started now. We could have renewable energy and a much higher quality of life for people all over the world if we got to work on it now.
Okay. Or we can move to the mountains. You know what? I'm going to let Andy.
So he disagrees. He thinks the world's not getting warmer.
Okay. Let me just say this. We want to blame something or somebody. Who would you blame?
I tend to blame Paris Hilton for most things, and I think we have a lot of agreement on that.
And her show's been canceled.
Man.
That is a positive sign for the future.
The rains and now this.
We're ending on good news here.
This is almost a rainbow, but not quite. All right. Thanks very much, gentlemen, for joining us this morning. Gerry Falwell, Bill Nye, Andy Borowitz. Sure appreciate it.